guys, Zanders here and welcome back to another Magic Deck Tech. This is a standard Temur Rel Storm deck that I put together for you guys. If anyone's been looking at during this Wilderness season, so the deck's out now. Obviously people are going to be playing this deck. I'm just doing the deck tech for it. If you're familiar with the previous Temur control build, it's basically that, adding just a couple of cards to kind of have an alternate win con that is also really easy and really powerful. So I'm just going to talk about the main deck here, talk about the sideboard, which is probably the most interesting thing about this deck in terms of being new and fresh, and then hopefully you guys enjoy the video. So before I go too far into the deck, I want to talk about the combo, and I can't do that without first talking about Rel Storm Conduit, which is for 4, 2, a blue and a red. It's a 4 loyalty planeswalker with whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, Rel Storm Conduit deals 1 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. His +2 ability is Scry 1, and his -2 ability is when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell, you may choose new targets for the copy. We want to be running 4 copies of Expansion to Explosion, which is for either 2 hybrid or X and 4. So if you're playing it for the 2 hybrid, it's at instant speed, you copy target instant or sorcery spell with converted cost 4 or less. You may choose new targets for the copy. And Explosion is for X and 4. At instant speed, Explosion deals X damage to any target, and target player draws X cards. So what we want to do here is play a cheap spell like Opt, which we're running in a 4 of. It's for 1 blue, at instant speed, you scry 1 and then draw a card. Or Shock, which we're playing in a 3 of. For 1 red, at instant speed, you deal 2 damage to any target. And then we're going to take one of our 4 copies of Expansion and copy that spell. We're then going to play our second copy of Expansion to copy the first expansion. And because of the Rel's copy not cast trigger, every time we copy a spell we ping for damage. So the second expansion is going to copy the first expansion, and then that copy is going to copy the first expansion, and then that copy is going to copy the first expansion, and you get the idea. It's an infinite loop of copying expansion and playing it again, just looping expansion again and again and again, dealing infinite damage to opponents or planeswalkers. That is the combo as easy as it gets. To shore that up, we're playing 4 copies of Double Cast, which is for 2 red. At sorcery speed, when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell, you may choose new targets for the copy. So similar to Rel's ability, when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, you may choose new targets for the copy. So we do the -2, we play the Double Cast, and then we'll expansion. Infinite triggers, because we copy the Double Cast, which is bringing another copy on, and then we'll expansion at instant speed. You get the idea. It's kind of convoluted and it's a bit of a mess, but it gets there, and it gets there really quickly. 3 copies of Spell Pierce just to try and protect our combo, which is for 1 blue. At instant speed, you counter target non-creature spell unless the controller pays 2. Because we are trying to do this in the really early game, Spell Pierce is a little bit more important, being able to play it for the 1 mana. We do have negates in the sideboard if we want to shore that up a little bit more. 2 copies of Search for Azcanta, because we are also running, being in Temur colors, the Wilderness Reclamation plan, being able to untap our lands and kind of dig for these cards. Because on the flip side of Search for Azcanta, so Search for Azcanta, legendary enchantment for 2, at the beginning of your upkeep, you look at the top card of your library and then you can put that card into your graveyard. If there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard, you can flip it. When you do, Azcanta the Sunken Ruin, a legendary land with tap for blue or pay 3 and tap. To look at the top 4 cards of your library, you reveal a non-creature, non-land card from among them and put that into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library. So if we haven't got Rel or Expansion or the Double Cast or all the pieces of the combo that we need, the Azcanta the Sunken Ruin can help us dig for these pieces, which is really cool. And how it's going to dig for those reliably is with the 4 copies of Wilderness Reclamation, which is for 4, 3, and a green. It's an enchantment system on the battlefield, and at the beginning of your end step, untap all lands you control. So because this gets flipped into a land, we're going to be able to, on our end step, tap, search, and then it untaps on the Wilderness trigger, and then we can tap, search again, being able to dig 4, 8, 12 cards into our deck, trying to find the combo pieces so that hopefully in the next turn we can finish it off. Working surprisingly well. 4 copies of Chemist's Insight for draw card. At a 4 cost, 3 and a blue, at instant speed, you draw 2 cards, and it's also got Jumpstart, so as an additional cost to essentially flashback it, you discard a card and then exile it from your graveyard, being able to play it again. For more draw card and a little bit of ramp, we have 4 copies of Growth Spiral, which is for 1 green and a blue. It's at instant speed, you draw a card, and then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield, allowing us to play Wilderness Reclamation a little bit sooner. And to finish off the spells in the deck, I've got a couple of copies of Firemind's Research in here. So it's for Izzet colors, blue and a red. It's an enchantment that sits on the battlefield, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you put a charge counter on Firemind's Research. And then it's got pay 2, 1 and a blue. You remove 2 charge counters from it to draw a card, or you pay 2, 1 and a red. You remove 5 charge counters from it to deal 5 damage to any target. Just note that Firemind's Research doesn't work the same as the Rel Storm Conduit. It's not triggering off the copies that we're creating, it's only triggering off the cast. So when we do the initial one, it's ticking up, but because we're playing so many other spells in the deck, Firemind's Research is still going to be really important. But in the really grindy matchups, being able to ping 5 damage at any target could be really important. Just touching on the land base here, 4 copies of Steam Vents, which is an island mountain, comes in tapped unless you pay 2 life. 4 copies of Breeding Pool, which is a forest island, comes in tapped unless you pay 2 life. 2 copies of Stomping Ground, which is a mountain forest, comes in tapped unless you pay 2 life. Rootbound Crag, taps for red or green, comes in tapped unless you control a forest or mountain. Sulphur Falls, the same thing, but mountain or island, and Hinterland Harbour, the same thing, but forest or island. And to finish off with basics, we have 3 islands. And to finish off with basics, we have 3 islands, 2 forests, and a single mountain. I had considered cutting the forests out for something else, but so far it's worked pretty fine. I might consider cutting them for an extra couple of copies of either the Hinterland or the Rootbound, but it's worked well so far. Touching on the sideboard now, this is where it starts getting a bit more exciting in terms of being something completely different. So where you would usually be sticking in a little bit more counter magic, yes, we've got a little bit of that. I've actually put in a kind of alternate route, so if they're onto the Rel Storm idea and they figured out what we're trying to do, we can kind of switch the deck up a bit and make it more around just going wide strat with the 3 copies of Saheeli Sublime Artificer, which is for 3, 1 and 2 hybrid, either blue or red. It's a 5 loyalty planeswalker with whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. Her neg 2 ability is target artifact you control becomes a copy of another target artifact or creature you control until end of turn, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. Not really relevant. We're focusing on the whenever we play a non-creature spell, generating this huge board of 1/1 servos and trying to go wide. And also in the sideboard here to help us go wide is the 3 copies of Murmuring Mystic, which is for 4, 3 and a blue. It's a 1/5 human wizard with whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you create a 1/1 blue bird illusion creature token with flying. So these ones are even better because they have evasion, so you could probably be running 4 of this and the Saheeli if you wanted to go more down that path. But I just thought it was something a bit more jank, a little bit more fun, and I've played it a couple of times, and just switching it up and not focusing so much on the Rel, because once they see the Rel combo, if you're playing in best of 3s, once they see it the first game, they're going to be trying to hold up all the answers for it. So as soon as they try to answer Rel, and then we go, okay, you're answering Rel, you got that covered, now we're just going to start throwing down these guys and just spamming spells at you, trying to go wide. And you actually will surprise your opponent and pull a win in game 2, which is really cool. 3 copies of Lava Coil for that added removal. At a 2 cost, it's at sorcery speed. Deal 4 damage to target creature. If that creature would die this turn, you exile it instead. 2 copies of Lightning Strike, which is for 2 at instant speed. You deal 3 damage to any target, potentially killing a creature or just dealing damage to face. 2 copies of Negate. For 2 at instant speed, you counter target non-creature spell, just a little bit of counter magic in the deck. And 2 copies of Rel Izzet Viceroy, which is for 5, 3, a red and a blue. Which is for 5, it's a 5 loyalty planeswalker. Its +1 is look at the top 2 cards of your library. You may put one of them into your hand and the other into your graveyard. Neg 3 is he deals damage to target creature equal to the total number of instant and sorcery cards you own in exile and in your graveyard. And his negate is you get an emblem with whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, this emblem deals 4 damage to any target and you draw 2 spells. He's good filtering, he's good removal, and if you can ever get that emblem off, it can just be game winning. So this version of Rel is really good as well. And that is the sideboard, and that is the main board, and that is Rel Storm in Standard.
Thanks for watching, guys. As always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to see new videos as they were released. If you like what I do and you want to support the channel, you can throw me $1 on my Patreon at patreon.com/ZandersQuest. And I will see you guys in the next video. Keep questing, guys.